Good morning, physics class. This is our last new lesson of the entire school year, and for the seniors, this is it. As far as new material, and I hope to give you some good food for thought on. So, what we want to do today is be able to wrap up this whole idea of the law of thermodynamics. You are getting ready for your Chapter 12 test, which for everyone will be the last test of the year. Okay, so the juniors, even if you're wondering if you're going to have a cumulative final exam, no one is having a cumulative final exam in physics. Seniors, after you finish your Chapter 12 test, you are finished. Those who are not seniors, we're going to be doing some things where you're going to do some little mini labs with things that you have in your house. They are going to be designed for you not to have to buy anything, but for you to hopefully discover a couple of cool things. And so that's where we're headed with those things. Yes, they are going to count. Technically, I should give you some kind of a final exam, but because of the way things were reordered and what we are doing, usually the Chapter 12 test would suffice as a final exam because there is a kind of a course closing question at the end of it. But since I don't have you all in front of me, I've had to make some backup plans. If you talk to students from last year, you know we did some things with electronic circuits kind of in the interim. I couldn't do that with you because you don't all have the equipment at home, so I've got some things in my head, not a formal plan yet, but you'll get a chance to learn some pretty cool fun things. And I want those last days for my not seniors to be fun, interesting, and worth your time. So there's that. And the seniors, we will bid a fond adieu to you. After you take your Chapter 12 test, I am going to be opening up next Wednesday as a question and answer time at 1 o'clock. If you have need of that, if you cannot make it at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the 27th, and you have questions that you want to ask about that test, please let me know and I will schedule something at some time for you. Okay, and we'll be able to sit down and go over it. I know that 1 o'clock just doesn't work for everybody, and so we'll work something out. I just need to put it on the schedule and make sure that I get a chance to talk to you. So there's that. All right, so I've talked about all those things. So last formal lesson of the year. So let me start off with a nice, wonderful dad joke. Okay, so this is kind of sciencey. Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? Great food, no atmosphere. Ba-dum-bum. Okay, so let's move right along and let's talk about entropy. Okay, we were talking about laws of thermodynamics, which is dealing with heat energy and different things that happen because of it. We talked about the first law. We did some problems. Entropy is a word that measures how disordered a system is. Okay, so how chaotic it is. Carnot developed a proof that no matter what kind of machine you have, even if it's an ideal machine, we talked about that earlier in the year with the idea of ideal mechanical advantage. Even if it's ideal, it will produce waste heat. Okay, there's no getting around it. There will be some heat going out into the system that you're considering. And so this idea brings us to the idea that the more thermal energy that's added into a system, okay, the greater the entropy or the greater the disorder. So more thermal energy comes in, then the system becomes more and more disordered unless something is done. The second law of thermodynamics. Now, a law in science is more than just an idea, a thought, or a theory. A law in science is something that's been proved, and the scientific community agrees that it's true. Okay, and it states that natural processes go in a direction that maintains or increases the entropy of the universe. Natural processes that have not been altered by someone, they go in a direction that maintains or increases the entropy. It increases the disorder of the system. So what this really means is that all things are going to become more and more disordered unless some action is taken to keep them ordered. Okay, we see that just in life, in anything. If things are bouncing around randomly, it just gets more random and more chaotic, and you have a bigger mess. Okay, light generally will go out and it will spread out into an area, but unless there's something to focus that light in, it's going to keep on being more and more and more disordered. Okay, so our second law of thermodynamics formally states that natural processes go in a direction that maintains or increases entropy of the universe. So universal. Without intervention, you're going to have more disorder. The energy crisis comes about because of the second law of thermodynamics. When energy is used, okay, especially the fossil fuels, and the heat and the waste heat is produced, that heat, it's wasted, it's not capturable and turning back into usable energy. The heat added to the system is creating greater entropy because there's more waste heat because of these machines that are using those fuels. Okay, so the waste heat happens, it puts more energy into the system, which causes greater entropy. In order to get it converted back into usable energy, it takes great steps. Can people do it? There are some things that can be done, but it takes a whole lot of science, a whole lot of engineering. It doesn't just happen randomly. That waste heat is used, gone. The log burns, the energy is released, the heat goes out into the air. Yes, it's good because it kept us warm or whatever, but you can't get that energy back collected into that log. It just doesn't happen. Okay, it goes out into the world and it's no longer concentrated enough to be of any use. It's not lost. The energy is still there, but it's not in a useful form because of the second law of thermodynamics. So we want to consider some things about that. Okay, now some of these are philosophical questions, and I do have a philosophical question on your test. Now, being a philosophical question, it means that as long as you present your ideas clearly and that they make sense, then I wouldn't be taking off points. Okay, I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just saying that what you think needs to be backed up with good, clear thoughts. Okay, so that's what that means. So first of all, I want you to consider this. You don't have to write an answer to this question or any of the subsequent questions, and then I'll speak at the end as far as what will show up on your test. But let's consider if things tend to fall into disorder rather than order, unless some action is taken to keep them ordered. I have that directly quoted from the scientific definition. How does that affect your belief system? Okay, in other words, you want to consider, does that back up what you have as far as your ideas, or does it make you question your beliefs? Okay, so things tend to fall into disorder rather than order unless, quote, some action is taken to keep them ordered. How does that affect your belief system? At this point, if we were in class, we'd have a discussion on it, which would be very good because you'd get to put your ideas in there. Okay, I can throw in a little bit extra. Consider some action. Where does some action come from? Okay, things are going to fall into disorder unless some action is taken. Who takes that action? So how does that affect your belief system that science itself says that some action has to be taken to keep them ordered? Another consideration, is it more likely, according to science, which says things become less ordered, is it more likely, according to science, that the solar system became more ordered randomly or that someone made it become ordered? Okay, there is that theory, the Big Bang Theory. Okay, theory versus law. Theory hasn't been proved, but there's a theory that talks about everything getting out there, and then you had all the particles as the universe expanded and they came into order and into collected and became more ordered and became the planets and the stars as the particles collected and became organized. Okay, and that's one of the theories that's out there. However, we've got our law of thermodynamics, which says that unless some action is taken to keep them ordered, they would fall into disorder. So think that through. Is it more likely, according to science, that the solar system became more ordered or that someone made it become ordered? Okay. And another thought, is it more likely that particles lined up randomly into a solar system that could support life, or that energy organized itself into the atoms that were needed to create life? Or is it more likely that the system would have gone into complete chaos without intervention? Think about the law of second law of thermodynamics, what it says. Is it more likely that the particles organized randomly, or would it have been more likely that they would have gone into complete chaos if some action wasn't taken? And think about where that some action would have come from. Okay, so thinking about the law of second law of thermodynamics, here's what you're going to have to speak to in some way, shape, or form during your test. And if you come and you want to be part of that class discussion on Wednesday to get your head around that, that's fine. You'll be working on your test on Wednesday and Thursday. But be prepared to reference the second law of thermodynamics, which we just went over, as you defend your position about the existence of God, the universe, and creation. So think about your position. What is your position on the existence of God? Do you believe that he exists, or do you believe that there is no God? Or do you believe that there's just kind of a random force out there? What is your position about the existence of God? I can tell you my position on the existence of God. I can tell you that I believe that he exists. I believe that he sent his son for us, that lived the perfect life, that died on the cross for my sins, and that I can be forgiven if I just accept that gift. And then I have another whole universe to explore once I pass on from this life into the next. That's my position about the existence of God. Yes, I believe that he exists. I can't make you share that position. Okay? You have a belief about it. Be able to defend that belief. So you're going to, first of all, think about and solidify in your mind, what is your opinion, your position about the existence of God? What is your position about the formation of the universe? What do you believe about it? Do you believe that it came about by a random set of chances, or do you believe that God created and that God organized the universe? Was he needed for that? And be prepared to defend your position about creation. Do you believe that randomly things became more and more organized, and there was a slow evolutionary process that developed things like the digestive system and the eye and the respiratory system, and that these things were able to develop slowly over time? Or do you believe that there had to have been a creator that helped that process along? What is your position about it? Consider it very carefully over the next few days. Make sure that you have a position on that. What do you believe about those things? And then be able to defend them. Yes, the second law of thermodynamics is one thing that you can reference, but there are so many other things that you can reference in defending your position on the existence of God. Not looking for a mathematical proof. However, there are some scientific things that point towards him. But you need to know where you stand, and you need to be able to think about, why do I stand in that position? And that's what you'll be speaking to. So, hopefully you stuck with me through this. I sure do miss you all. And I hope that we get a chance to see each other and run across each other. I want to hear about what you're doing in the years to come. And I'm looking forward to just whatever it is that I find out over the years that you've done and become, and been able to follow that calling that God's placed on your lives. Okay, I'm just going to pray real quick. Jesus, please solidify everyone's opinions and help them to be able to know that you've got something for them. And pray that you'll bless them, that you'll encourage them, that you'll give them peace, that you'll give them hope, that you'll give them all the things that they have need of today and throughout their lives. And pray that you give us a good rest of the day and a good long weekend, and help us to draw closer to you. In Jesus' name, amen.